audiobookey.com. Real stories by real people.
Hello, this is Chauncey Wyatt, the founder and president of audiobookey.com, coming to you live and uncut to say thanks for taking the time to listen to real stories by real people like you and I. You can listen to all of our stories for absolutely free by clicking on the play button when you see it advertised on Facebook, or simply visit our website, www.audiobookey.com. Likewise, if you'd like to tell your story and become an author of your own high-definition cinema audiobook, you can do that at no cost. And while we may take the risk in time and cost to produce it, we will still give you 50% of the book sales for non-commercialized copies sold on our website, as well as occasional bonuses, recognition, and more. So continue to listen to these amazing stories, like us on Facebook, or let us produce your story, because your experiences have value and could help someone along the way. So support Audiobookie, and we will continue to bring you real stories by real people. Thanks again for your support. Now back to your featured presentation. Enjoy. Do you like stylish fashion, stepping out in the latest trends? At rockstarfashion.com, we specialize at bringing the best the world has to offer in style and fashion directly to your home. We have the latest in men, women, and children's clothing and shoes, and are now offering 50% off. Yeah, that's right, 50% off all inventory. Visit our website, www.rockstarfashion.com. That's ROQSTAR fashion.com to view our line of fashion for you and your family. That's ROQSTAR fashion.com. Use code ABRQ1 when making your purchase. Limited time special only. RockstarFashion.com, bringing the world's best fashion directly to your home. Taxes and delivery included in final cost.
And now, for your featured presentation. The following narration is a depiction of the life, experience, and thoughts of the author, and not necessarily the voice of the author itself. This story is rated mature.
Challenge by Diana Carreras. My nursing career started when I was 6 years old. I decided that I wanted to be a nurse due to a movie I had seen. Maybe many of you can remember the movie Julia. The movie starred Diane Carroll, who portrayed a nurse. I was in such awe with the movie and the portrayal of the nursing world that I even got a Julia lunchbox. I loved what Julia stood for. I went through high school, and then when I finished, I decided to go into nursing school. I had the choice to go through a 3 or 4 year program. I decided I would go through the 3-year program because it was more of a hands-on approach. To me, this meant a lot because my philosophy was that you could always read a book to learn, but when you're dealing with patients, the books get thrown out the window. In the real world, each patient is different, an individual, and has their own issues. Because of this, I felt it was extremely important to start there. When I was in nursing school, it was an awakening. Because I went straight from high school to nursing school, I still had that kid mindset. A clear example of this is a time I will never forget. I had a book project that I didn't turn in on time, and it was 50% of my grade. I said to myself, no big deal, I'll hand it in on Monday. Let me remind you that this book was due on Friday. I spent my entire weekend to complete this project, which was a lot of work, over 60 typed pages, but the thing is, I didn't type. On Monday, I handed the teacher the book, and she said to me, "Oh, I see that you did a lot of work." I said, "I did, but I'm sorry that I didn't turn it in when asked." She said to me, "Well, it was due on Friday, correct?" I said, "Yes, it was." so I figured she would give me a B. While I was walking back to my desk, she said, "Wait, Miss Perez, come back. I already have your grade." I remember thinking to myself, how does she already know my grade? I just gave it to her. As I was walking up to her desk, I saw her marking on my book. She then handed the book back to me, and all I saw was a big, fat, red F. She said to me, "Do you understand that when something is due at a specific time, it's due at that specific time? So going forwards, you need to do what you need to do to get things done on time." That was a big lesson for me. I couldn't take things for granted. That when things need to be done, I couldn't put things on the back burner. I had huge procrastination issues, which I no longer have. It really woke me up. I had another instructor during this time that was really hard on me. I was always wondering why she was so tough on me. I remember this particular time when this instructor really got on me hard. I came home, went to my mom, and I told her, I'm done. I quit. I don't want to be a nurse anymore. Being the woman of wisdom that she is, my mother said, "That's fine. Quit. You don't have to be a nurse." I remember looking at my mom and thinking, that's not my mom. She normally would tell me to not quit, stick behind me, and would strive with me. She said, "Just go in tomorrow and tell them that you quit, that you don't want to do it anymore." I didn't realize at that time that my mom was giving me a life lesson. So the next day I went into school thinking to myself, my mom supports me in my decision, so it's okay to quit. I went and spoke to that particular instructor and told her that I was done with nursing and that I quit. At that moment, she told me to sit down and asked me, "Do you understand why I am so hard on you?" I said, "No. Personally, I was thinking you hated me." She said, "No. The reason why I am so hard on you is because I know that you will be a damn good nurse. You just have to do what you have to do to get there." At that moment, I woke up, and I thought to myself that I could have just thrown my whole nursing career out the window out of foolishness. But I didn't, because of the simple fact that she told me that I was good. I didn't have that feeling inside of me that I was good. I just didn't think that I was good enough. But with her saying the things that she did and standing behind me, I told myself, I am doing this. I'm putting my stake down and doing this. And guess what? I did. I will never forget when I graduated nursing school. All the instructors that were the toughest on me came to me and gave me a lot of hugs and told me they knew I could do it. It really made me think, wow, I had all of these people behind me, helping me and guiding me the entire time, and I never really knew it. This was my first growing life lesson. So after graduation, I became a full-time nurse in the hospital. I really liked working in the hospital because of the foundation and growth you receive while in the hospital environment. This is where I got a lot of my experience in nursing, and it really helped me my final years. For those of you that want to be a nurse, the ideal place to start is in the hospital. The reasons why I say this is because you get to see everything firsthand, and you have the support of others while setting a foundation for yourself, which is really important. After being in the hospital, I became a visiting nurse. I was seeing patients in their homes. Because I had that strong foundation, I believed in myself, and I knew that I knew what I knew. It wasn't that hard. I would go in, assess the patients, make the decisions that were needed to be made, and never second-guess myself. I was able to do this because it was ingrained in me that this is what you do. I started to be more independent in my work. I then went through a phase in my life that was very hard for me. I went through a bitter divorce where I lost everything. I lost my house, my car, my job, and I had 2 little ones to take care of. I remember both of my parents telling me that I could sit and cry, or I could get up, dust myself off, and do what I had to do to change the situation. So, because I had the foundation that I had received in nursing, I knew I could do whatever I set my mind to. I went out and made the changes that I needed. I worked, built up my credit, bought a car, and was able to get my visiting nurse position back. This is where I want to say to those of you listening, there are going to be times in your life where you feel like you can't do it anymore, where you're going to want to give up. Don't. This is when you are 3 feet from gold. The door is opening. You know that time where one door is closing and another door is opening. It may take a few minutes to open, but you're in the hallway waiting for that door to open. Don't quit, no matter what. Yes, it was a loss, and I went through the grieving process, but I had 2 children dependent on me, so I had to do what I had to do. I look back at my career and think about all the patients that I saw. It was amazing. I remember some of the stories. My biggest thing was seeing the patients, teaching them about being diabetic or about some kind of cardiac need, and having them repeat back what I taught them. I would see that they understood what I had taught them. This was an accomplishment and a triumph because I knew these were things that the patient needed to be taught. Now there were times when I would get frustrated because I would have management that could be difficult to deal with, but I had to remember that I had to put the patient first. You have to realize that the patient is sick and they need your help. There are times when I would also have difficult patients, really difficult patients. Just like with management, I would have to remember the patient is really sick and they're not in their right frame of mind. They're either scared or that they may just be comfortable enough with me to lash out because they knew I wouldn't leave them. But I had to have a strong will. I remember when I first started out in nursing, I would get upset when a patient got upset. I would think that I was doing something to upset the patient, but then I learned that the patients were not upset with me, but going through their own grieving process. With the grieving process, you have 5 things: anger, bargaining, denial, depression, and acceptance. So all your patients are at different stages, and you would have to see where they were. I had some patients that passed away on me unexpected. I had to stop and think if I did everything that I had to do, and when I looked back, I believed I did. Then I had some patients that passed away peacefully, which was a blessing in disguise. Being a nurse, you go through the emotions, but you cannot take it personally or bring it home with you. If you do, it will start eating at you just like other professions that see real life in the field. So if there's anyone out there listening that wants to be a nurse, go for it. And if it's your passion, do not let anyone stand in your way. I was in my 28th year of nursing when I started to care for a family member who we thought had cancer. As a visiting nurse, I remember telling people all the time that they needed to take care of their health. This meant that they needed to go to the doctor and that they needed to eat properly. Well, while I was dealing with this family member and taking care of them, I wasn't adhering to my own advice. Kind of funny that I talked to people all the time about this, but I wasn't even doing it. It took me a while to think back and to think to myself that I wasn't taking care of me and that it was what I needed to do for myself the entire time. See, that's the problem with caregivers who take care of patients. You hear of caregivers passing away because the stress of taking care of someone was too much. It's because they didn't take care of themselves. I was taking care of a family member thinking they had cancer, when in reality they didn't. I was the one that had the cancer. When I found out that I had breast cancer, it was a complete shock because I was the one that found my own cancer. I remember the day. It was just a regular routine day. I went to put my bra on, and I remember feeling these little beads in my left breast. It felt like someone had sewed a string of pearls in my breast. I remember thinking, oh, this does not feel good. I knew that it was something. Usually it's not like that if it's just a little cyst or a benign tumor. So I went to the doctor and had a mammogram, which I had just done a year earlier, that showed nothing. The doctor came back and told me, yes, there was something. After getting the diagnosis from my doctor, I went to the surgeon with my husband. We found out from the surgeon that the cancer was a possible stage 2 or more, but that she wouldn't know completely until I had surgery. When I heard that, it was just a shock to me. I thought, oh, it's just breast cancer. They found it early, it'll go away, and that will be it. But having someone tell you while you're looking at the tumor, seeing how big it was, and then you hear the words, it really hits you. Logically, I knew what I was looking at, but emotionally, I was in denial. I thought to myself, it's not that bad. Not until I actually had to look at it myself. That is when I went through an emotional roller coaster. My husband looked at me and said, I don't want to lose you. I said to him, I don't want to go anywhere either. One thing about me is that I try to always make a little bit of light in difficult situations. Not that I don't think it's what it is, but it gave me the mortality. Wait a minute, this is serious and real. I had just recently lost an aunt to lung cancer who had no symptoms, and it was a complete shock. I was already angry with God for taking my aunt, but now I was even angrier with him about this. I asked him, why are you doing this to me? You just saw what my family and I went through with my aunt. Now you're putting me through this? My mother can't handle this. She just lost her sister. I remember thinking to myself, how do I tell my parents? My parents were not near me, so I had to tell them over the phone. You see, my parents had already lost a daughter to leukemia when I was little. So I pick up the phone, and when my mom answers, I asked her to get Dad on the phone. My parents knew that when I asked for both of them to get on the phone, the news was serious and not good. After telling them and hearing their reactions, I wished I could have just hugged and held on to them. I could just hear both of them gasp once I told them the news. Now I had to tell my sibling and my youngest son. I remember my son asking me, Mommy, are you okay? See, we were already in fear because we thought my husband had lung cancer, which he did not. But now I'm telling him that I had breast cancer. It was the hardest thing looking into his eyes and telling him that this is what they found, but that everything was going to be okay. I was thinking, how are my husband and son going to manage without me? How are they going to survive? I do all these things for them. I was going through so much emotion that I even bargained with God. I told him, look, I was pissed at you because Mary died. I am so sorry for being that way, and I hope you understand. But please, I need to live. You can't take me. If it's your will, it's your will, but I have more to do. Please let me live. I actually begged God and said prayers. I went through the denial, anger, and depression. The depression that I went through was more towards the worry about my family, not a depression where I wasn't going to fight. I said to myself, okay, I'm going to give this cancer a run for its money. It will not win. At this time, I began to read a book by Norman Vincent Peale called Positive Imaging. This is what motivated me to be a life coach, which I will get into later. I started reading this book and imagined the cancer cells, and I kept telling them they were going to leave my body and that they really didn't exist. I really went into a deep state of being, meditating. I talked to God. I never went to church. It was just God and I out there talking. After doing this for a while, I had a feeling in the back of my head that I was going to be okay. Now, I was going through some emotional things, but everything that I was going through emotionally was not about me. I was fine, but I was more concerned about my family and those that were around me. I didn't have time to worry about myself. I had things to do. My mind was on all the life things I had to do. I had to keep things in order and was preparing my family for the worst just in case. Because of the cancer, I had developed fibromyalgia, and it was causing me to sleep a lot. I would get depressed because I was sleeping so much, and I didn't have time for it. I really had to put myself in check because I had to really focus on taking care of myself. I was also getting down about my relationship with my husband. We hadn't had the best relationship in the past because of the excess baggage we both brought into the marriage. We had worked really hard to get where we were, finally happy. We had no worries, and now this hits. I started to think of the things that we didn't do that normally people do. We didn't have a honeymoon, we didn't go on vacations, and we didn't have the memories we should have had. These are the things that I was most depressed about. What if the worst does happen? What memories will my husband and son have of me? Because I was working so much and trying to make ends meet, I didn't take time for the small things in life. I would say to myself, God, I wasted my time. Why didn't I do these things? Now, the thing with breast cancer that people do not realize is that you have to go into surgery twice. They go in to take the tumor out with the first surgery, and then they go in for a second surgery to scrape the area to see if they got everything. So after the diagnosis, we made arrangements, and I went in for the 2 surgeries. Meanwhile, I was still employed as a nurse. Here is where I learned that you don't realize and know who does care and who doesn't care. I found my supervisors really didn't care. I remember when I had to go in for the second surgery, 6 weeks after the first one. I called my supervisors to let them know about the second surgery, and after telling them about my situation, I got the response, "You can't do that. There's no way for you to take the time off." I thought to myself, are you serious? I have to. I have no choice. I have breast cancer. I even had one supervisor ask me, why didn't they just get everything out in the first surgery so you could come back to work? This is when I realized how much I was worth in the work field. According to them, I was just a person that brought in stats and that was it. This woke me up and made me realize that I am a person, I have feelings, and I matter. I am who I am. It was such a shock to hear her say the things that she did, especially with her being a nurse. It was an awakening. Now let me say this. Her saying this didn't hurt me at all. It made me extremely angry. How could you be a nurse and not have empathy? It was just shocking to hear, how dare you have breast cancer and how dare you need 2 surgeries? I mean, are you serious? It made me think, what type of nurse are you? What type of image was she giving to her patients? Before my first surgery, I did a radio show called the Take Action Life Coach. The day that I was having my surgery, I decided to do a radio show. My surgeon thought I was crazy because she knew I was going to be loopy. My husband didn't want me to do it because I needed rest. I said to him, no, I am going to do this. I have a commitment to my audience. And you know what? I did it, loopy and all. I had to do it. I had to let people who were going through this know that they will be okay, that they've got to fight, that they can't give up, and that they will make it. After the show, I got a lot of feedback that I was an inspiration of hope and that the listeners were grateful that I had taken the time to do the show. It was something that I had to do. I had to be on that show and to share with others what I was going through because I felt like it would impact someone's life. Whether it was a mom, aunt, grandmother, or daughter, I knew they needed to hear my story. Looking back, this was one of my favorite shows that I ever did. So I go in for my second surgery, and I knew beforehand that she hadn't gotten everything. I just had this feeling that she hadn't gotten everything the first time. She didn't tell me at first, but I felt it. She finally told me that she had not been able to get everything, and she needed to let me heal before she could do the surgery again. This process of surgery after surgery went from January to June. I went in for my third surgery, and my husband was for sure that she was going to get it all. I told him she isn't going to get it all this time. He asked me, how do I know? I said, I just have a feeling that she's not going to get it all. It's going to come back that she didn't. He said, I don't believe you. Are you sure? And I said again, I just know it. It's a feeling that I have. Sure enough, I came out of the surgery and I told my husband that she didn't get it all. And it's just a feeling that I had. He said, I don't understand how you know. I said, I just do. What I knew was true came through. We received her phone call and she informed us that she had bad news and that she didn't get it all. At this time, she asked me what I wanted to do and that I had a few choices. I asked her what my choices were, and she told me that we could go in one more time down to the breast wall, or we could do a mastectomy. She asked me what I preferred. I told her I would prefer her to go in again, and that we do not have the option to do the mastectomy. There is no way that we were going to do the mastectomy. She said, "Are you sure?" You see, the type of cancer I had was called DSIC, which involved the mammary glands. It's a pretty involved type of cancer. I said, "No, we are going back in." The crazy thing is that I was actually having to encourage her and tell her she could do this. You see, she had never experienced this in her 33 years. With every other case she encountered, she was able to get in, get what she needed, and it was done. I told her not to worry about it and that she would get it this time. I gave her that hope, and so we went in for the 4th surgery. Before we went into surgery, I talked to God. This is something that I did before every surgery. I asked him, please be by her side because she needs your guidance. She needs you to guide her hands to the exact place that needs to be taken out. I need to be fine because I have things that I need to do and I have to do before I'm taken from this world. The funny thing is that I do not like surgeries because I'm not in control of my situation. I had had many C-sections with my children and was always filled with worry. I would pace around, stressed to the max. But with every one of the 4 breast surgeries, I never had this feeling. I would come to the operating room walking right in saying, "Okay, are we ready? Let's go." Now I'm telling you this because I have to paint this picture that ultimately this was not me and way out of character for me. But I knew that I had to go through this journey and God had something that I needed to learn. So I had my talk with God. I prayed to Peregrine, the patron saint of cancer patients, and I put my hand to my chest. All of a sudden, I felt a heat on my piecing through my breast. It was like someone had put a heating pad on it. It was almost like an awakening, and at that moment, I knew the cancer would be gone. She went in, did the surgery, and everything was fine. This is when I knew I had to surrender to God. What I mean by this is that I had to get out of the way, let God be with the doctor, and to have faith. One of the things that really got me was that I had said to God one day, "I don't know what your plans are for me. I've been through 4 surgeries and I'm still here." You see, I had had a vision. I saw all these lights. It was like God had shown me the world with all these lights. I felt that God wanted me to help him with the world. So I looked into this, I did some research, and found out that I am a way shower. A way shower is someone that is intuitive and guides others on their life's journey. This is when I realized what my calling was, and it was to be a way shower. You see, I couldn't go back to being a nurse because in my first surgery, the doctor had to take a lymph node from my armpit. Because of this, I have numbness from my armpit to my elbow. I am not able to lift my nursing bag or even a little purse. So there, my career was gone. I then asked God, so my career is over with, what do I do now? Since my surgery, I have focused in on getting my master's and becoming a life coach. And for the past 2 years, I've been doing something that I absolutely love to do. I still feel like a nurse, helping people along their path in their life's journey. The crazy thing about my case is that in the 30 years that my doctor has been in practice, she had never seen anything like she was seeing. It was so crazy that she actually had to take my case to other doctors because she was involved with the Cancer Institute. After she had done the biopsy on the tumor, she found that my cancer was actually at a stage 0. You see, with the involvement that was involved with my cancer, I should have been at a stage 3 or 4. She said to me, "I don't get it and I don't understand. From what I was seeing, you should have been at a stage 3 or 4. I have no explanations for this." I said to her, "I do! God! I feel that God changed this from the worst diagnoses to the best because I let go, had faith, and let God have control." I am a walking miracle. Now you may be thinking, was my doctor getting all this wrong for the sake of profit? I will tell you this, I never once felt this. From the moment that I met her, I had this connection, and I felt very close to her. She was one of the most empathetic doctors that I have ever met. I love her, and in my heart, I felt that she did everything that she could. She never wanted to go in. If you look at me, you cannot tell that I even had a single surgery. I even saw the frustration on her face because she really wanted to do the right thing. She really did the best that she could. So not once did this ever cross my mind. She was truly there for my well-being and curing me of this thing that had taken over my life. In conclusion, I have gotten wiser and older. I will tell you this, you can't let things get in the way. You have to get out of the way and let God take control and lead you on this journey. I honestly feel that I got the cancer because I was so angry at life. I was angry about my aunt dying, my financial situation, and the people I had to deal with at work. I was just an angry person. I was so angry that people would say to me, "Oh, you're going to work tomorrow." I was like, how can you tell? It was the tone that I carried with me. I had such a negative tone that others could feed and sense on it. Since the surgeries and the beginning of this amazing journey, I can honestly say that I don't get angry. I don't worry what a person may say or think. After going through this, you realize that life is more important, and if you have a problem, the illness is on you. I am not going to carry your anger, and I will not carry your problems. It was a growth that I went through, and I am a completely different person since the surgeries. Place your faith in God, and He will lead you on an amazing journey. My name is Diana Korekis, and this is my story.